Okay, in this video I am going to demonstrate how I was able to change one coil pack and 4 spark plugs on a 2008 Nissan Versa SL. I believe it's got the 1.8 liter engine, and if you're watching this video on YouTube, I'm also going to try to include a link that allows you to download the section of the service manual which shows step-by-step as well too. So I shot these videos, and I'm just going to kind of narrate through them for you. Pause the video as you go. It's not that hard, but you need to have a basic understanding and a basic knowledge of just vehicle maintenance. You can do this yourself and save yourself a ton of money. I actually had to order the coil pack from I believe it was AutoZone, and I got the Denso plugs from Advanced Auto. It might have been one or the other. But be very careful when you're setting the gaps on the spark plugs. There are the iridium plugs, and you could easily break the tip off. So anyways, let's get started here, and your first step, you're going to want to unloosen these 3 worm gears clamps that hold this rubber tubing to the throttle body, and also the box that holds your air cleaner. There's one here, and one here, and then one on the throttle body. And you want to move over to your engine cover, and you want to go ahead and remove these 2 bolts here. I believe these are 10 millimeters. I think the worm gears might be an 8 or 9 millimeter. Most of your other bolts on here are going to be 10 millimeter. Once you have these bolts out, then you want to go ahead, if you look down towards the yellow dipstick in the bottom of this picture, you actually want to take your hand on either side of that and just kind of pull up a little bit, and the engine cover will pop off. Okay, now on the front rail of the body, you'll see the little plastic air intake that brings the air in from the front of the vehicle, and you want to take your screwdriver and just gently pry up, and these caps will pop up just about 1/4 of an inch, and then you can actually reach down with your hand and pull them completely out. But be careful, these are plastic and they will break. And here's a picture of one of them off. So go ahead and take both of those off, and then you'll be able to remove the plastic, this plastic tubing, and then also the rubber tubing that connects the intake manifold. There is one clamp that actually goes to a rubber hose that you'll see that's connected, I believe, on top of the valve cover. Just take a pair of pliers and squeeze this, and then just bring it from here up to the hose, and then you'll just be able to pull this off. And up here on the top right hand corner of this picture is the rest of that plastic and rubber hose, and that's basically what it looks like. I'm going to try to point this arrow here. This is the previous slide showed the one clamp the squeeze clamp that you actually just use a pair of pliers. This hose comes up and connects to this plastic piece. So you can take the plastic piece off, and then you can also take this section off as well too. Just pull it straight back. Once you have that off, you've got four bolts that hold your throttle body in. Go ahead and remove those. Be very careful not to drop them. Once you get those off, you can actually pry the throttle body back and just kind of wedge it out of the way. You don't need to take anything else off. The service manual will tell you to take off a couple of hoses that actually bring in coolant that's designed to heat the fuel. And I guess if cold weather climates is kind of a good thing. I've seen where folks have actually bypassed actually bypassed this. So anyways, you don't need to take the throttle body completely off. Just go ahead and pry it out of the way. And there will be a bolt, and you can see I've pointed to it. It's right, let me get my cursor. It's right here. It's almost hidden. If you're facing this this side of where these 4 bolts went into, you can just barely see the silver bolt right there. And that's the first of 2 bolts that are holding the intake down. The other one is actually on the opposite side of the engine in the back, and so you want to go ahead and take this out. It's a tight fit, again just a 10 millimeter, I believe, with a socket. After you do that, you want to come over to the opposite side of the engine, to the passenger side in the back, and you'll see this bracket here, and you can take either one of these off. It's actually easier to take this back bolt completely off, and then just leave this bracket attached to the intake. Now, once you get those two bolts removed from the rear, you want to move to the front, and there's 5 more bolts that are holding the intake to the engine. And this is obviously the right-hand side of the dipstick, with a couple of arrows showing this third arrow right here. You can't see, but there's a bolt. You'll have to take the dipstick tube out and make sure that you cover it so you don't get any debris down into the filler tube. If not, you can't take this bolt out right here. So begin to go ahead and take those completely out, and again, try not to drop them, and then move on the left-hand side of the engine and take the remainder bolts out. So there's 5 total in the front. And you want to go ahead and take those completely out. Now, once you have those out, you can actually grab the intake from the left and the right-hand side and gently pull it back. The gasket that's in there is actually recessed into the intake that you're taking off. It's a rubber gasket. I was able to reuse mine. Just used a little of the black ATV before I put it back on. So at this point, you can go ahead and take that off. Actually, one more step before you take it off. Again, right up here by the throttle body, I've got a screwdriver that's actually pointing. You do not need to take these 2 screws off right here. You can if you want to, but I didn't. I have an arrow pointing to the electrical connector that I took off, and an arrow pointing to the squeeze clamp that I actually just squeezed. And at that point, you can slide this tube down. And at this point, you'll be able to take the intake completely off. You can lift it up and out of the way before you remove this electrical connector and this hose, but you're going to want to take that off so you can see. On the left-hand side, there's also another, I think that's the PCV hose clamp. You want to go and take that off. Again, you literally could just lay this out of the way if you wanted to, but a couple extra steps, and you've got it completely out of the engine. And once you have the intake off, you can see right up at top. I've circled the coil packs. Again, it's one 10mm bolt holding each one of them in. The cylinders fire. The firing order on these, I believe, is 1, 3, 4, and 2. So starting on the left-hand side, if you're facing the engine, I believe this is 1, and then 3, and then 4, and 2. And I had a misfire on cylinder number 2, so I actually had to replace this pack. But I went ahead and replaced the spark plugs. Now, you see this cover right here. The service manual actually calls for you to pull that cover off, but you don't need to pull that cover off if you don't want to, just to replace the coil packs and or the spark plugs. I used a 14mm deep well socket, and they actually make a special tool, if you can find one in your local store, that actually has the rubber grommet that goes inside the socket, so you can lift the spark plugs out. What I did is I actually just used a piece of rubber tube once I got the spark plug loosened from the engine, and I shoved the rubber tubing down in there and pulled the spark plug out. So it's a very narrow hole right here, whether you have this the cover on or not. But again, a 14mm. I was able to get down in there. The only thing I wasn't able to do was take the spark plug out once I loosened it with the wrench. And this next slide is going to show you what I did. Is I actually took a piece of rubber tubing with some electrical tape on there, and just wrapped around the tubing to make it a little bit tighter. And I actually had a little piece of, I'm calling this my shade tree removal tool, because if you notice down here, the bright green little string that kind of runs up in the center of the tube, and my tube was a little big, a larger diameter than what the spark plug was, and so I was just trying to have something down there that'll grab it and reach it. And that's it. That actually shows what it is. Just replace the spark plugs, make sure they're gapped at correctly, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it saved you a lot of aggravation, time, and certainly a lot of money. I think the quote that my mom got for the dealer to do this was right around the $500 or $600 mark. And of course, she had some coil pack issues. If you're just looking to replace the spark plugs, then they range anywhere from $12 to $16 a piece. Again, save you a lot of money. Thanks for watching.